Deaths in the seawater or in the fresh water can even occur with the natural causes. For example, if a person has a pre-existing disease, or if a person had any underlying causes for death other than the immersion phenomena, they are also going to be highlighted during an investigation if it is carried out. For example, we have to differentiate between ante-mortem and between post-mortem drowning while we are carrying out an investigation. So, an ante-mortem drowning is basically if drowning has occurred before the death, the immersion phenomena has occurred before the death, and post-mortem drowning is when death has occurred and somebody's body was immersed after that. So these basically have to be differentiated over here, and we have basically have to draw a clear-cut line between them whenever we are going to carry out an investigation report, and finally we are going to document it as an autopsy report. So these are the findings and we have to focus on them. Now, deaths from the natural causes, what are the natural causes that can come into play? Nature has its own way to manifest itself, and basically we have to jot down what can be the causes other than the immersion phenomena that can occur even in a body that was found immersed in water. Now, before entering into the water, the person may sustain some type of injuries. A trauma may occur to that person. Even in the homicidal cases, sometimes you find a body which is tied up and is thrown in the fresh water or in the seawater, and you find that and you're going to suspect that it was some sort of homicide. But still you are going to calculate if the person had some sort of a natural cause for this death. Then death while in water, how does it take place? What is the pathology behind it? That we're going to discuss in this section. And then injuries sustained before entering the water or while in the water. Now, these injuries can be direct trauma through the materials present in the environment, and they can be through the predators even. The predators, for example, the crustaceans, the mollusks, the diatoms, they all come into play, and they're going to provide evidence if they are found in the skin or even in the deeper parts of the body, and they're going to basically tell us that the death has occurred due to drowning or not. So basically we are going to focus on that, what can be the causes of death other than drowning whenever the immersion phenomena comes into play. So deaths from the natural causes before entering the water, what can be the causes for that? Relatively, it is very uncommon that death occurs due to some natural causes or due to some birth defects that the person had been carrying throughout his or her life. So it is relatively very uncommon, but still we are going to suspect these causes. These causes can be some sort of cardiovascular diseases that the person may be having. Cardiovascular catastrophe basically consists of any CVAs, that is the cardiovascular accidents, any thrombotic incidents that can take place with the person, any diseases, for example, hypertension, any compromised arteries or any compromised venules that are present in that person, that can be basically contributing towards the death of the person. Then there can be any aneurysms, and the ruptured aneurysms, again, they can be the brain aneurysms or in the arch of aorta, anywhere in the body. They can also contribute towards the death of the person. Then we have the involuntary falls into the water. Now, the involuntary falls into the water, they can be basically any intoxicated conditions that basically contribute towards the fall. If the person is unconscious or semi-conscious, he may not be knowing that he's falling into the water or he's drowning. He may be intoxicated or even partially or completely unconscious. So these are basically the states that we have to consider. If the person was poisoned before he was drowned, even that is going to be considered while we are carrying out an autopsy report. Now, autopsy. What are we going to look for whenever we are going to carry out autopsy on a person in which immersion was suspected? Identifying the pathological lesions. So there are a lot of chemical changes, biochemical changes that take place in a person. For example, even the catecholamine levels, they are of high significance. The sodium, the chloride levels, they are of high significance. And the strontium levels is another thing that is is particularly in research these days, and basically they are carrying out researches on strontium levels, and they are at a higher level. Even they rise up after a normal death, but in deaths due to immersion they rise up to much higher levels. So they are going to indicate that the death occurred due to drowning. Then excluding as far as possible any evidence of drowning. So we're going to first of all make it a point of exclusion that the death occurred due to drowning, because that can be some sort of a foul play. Just to mislead the investigation, sometimes the bodies are drowned after the real incident took place. So we're going to look for any signs of trauma that took place before the drowning phenomena has occurred, and that will be of high value and high significance over here. Now, natural death while in water. This is very important. It can be, what are the causes for these natural death? They can be cardiovascular diseases that the person may be suffering from. For example, hypertension, any thrombotic diseases, any peculiar diseases, for example, any birth defects, for example, aneurysms are also a part of these. Ruptured aneurysms can be a part of these underlying cardiovascular catastrophes that a person encounter while he's drowning. Pre-existing condition exacerbated by physical factors is another thing that can be encountered by the person. The physical factors can be any predators. The physical factors can be any environmental stress conditions which can contribute towards the death of the person while he's in water. So splanchnic shunt is another thing. Basically, it is the splenosplanchnic shunt, and this is another thing that takes place. And the underlying pathology is always there that the person has been suffering from throughout his life, and only the stressful condition of drowning exacerbate this condition. So this is another cause which can be included in the natural causes for death whenever death takes place in water or submersion phenomena is there. Then we have the myocardial insufficiency that can also be regarded as a normal CVA, that is the cardiovascular accidents, or any arrhythmias. So there is a phenomena that is basically the dry drowning phenomena in which vasovagal inhibition takes place, and the cardiac arrhythmias are the baseline cause for deaths in such cases, because the hyperinflation of the lungs and all of these things have not come into play yet and the death has occurred. So still the cause will be of a natural origin in such cases. So all of these basically are a part of natural causes which can contribute towards death in water. Now, injuries sustained before entering the water, they're again very important. What kind of trauma the person has sustained even before entering the water. Disposal of a murdered corpse in water can take place just to add to the foul play and just to mislead the investigators. The body is thrown in water, and sometimes even a suicidal note is present with along with that, just to indicate that just to give it a color for the suicidal intent. But we have to exclude any causes for homicidal intent whenever we have such bodies at our hand. So the accidental or the suicidal injuries may be inflicted in these cases, and we have to investigate very thoroughly in such cases. Now we have to differentiate the injuries sustained in water from the post-mortem injuries, and they're very important because the injuries sustained in water are of a different kind. They can be any blunt injuries and any injuries due to the predators which are already present in the water environment. So we have to basically focus on all of these things. Now, the water washing away from bleeding from the open injuries or the open wounds can be the trauma that is sustained by the body while the person was drowning. Now, the laceration inflicted during the life shows some bleeding, and along with that, it shows some signs of inflammation along the margins of the wound, and we have to focus on that. Now, the green or the black areas around the skin basically indicate the inflammatory processes, and that basically indicate that this trauma took place before the drowning or the submersion took place. The bruises basically mimic discolored areas of putrefaction, and we have to differentiate between areas of putrefaction and the bruises. Putrefaction again is quite modified in drowning phenomena, and we basically cannot have a quite well putrefied body in these cases, and even hypostasis is quite masked in these drowned bodies. Many may suffer extensive abrasions and extensive lacerations, and we have to basically document each and everything in the autopsy report. So in this section, basically, we dealt with how are we going to document the other natural causes which a person can sustain while he had this submersion phenomena. That was the end to this section. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.